Hello, superhumans. Welcome back for the afternoon session. How are you all? And a big warm hello and welcome to you, Gail Conrad. Welcome to the summit.
So great to be here.
Lovely to have you share your energy in this energy series. And we're up to halfway, actually. You're about the halfway mark through this 3-day summit.
Yeah.
And we've had such a variety of speakers in all sorts of fields and talking about all sorts of ways we can work with energy, that we use energy, that energy is all around us. So it's wonderful to now have your contribution. And I know you're coming to us from LA, aren't you?
I am. Los Angeles.
And you look bright and sparky because I know it's nighttime for you, middle of the day for us. Let me tell you guys a little bit about Gail here. So Gail is a holistic innovation coach. That's really interesting, isn't it? Maybe people haven't heard of that before. She's also the host of the Wildscape podcast. Now that already piques my interest, hearing a Wildscape podcast. I'm up for rewilding, and I live in the bush, so I love that. So Gail's topic today is all about harnessing our unsung heroes. And I know I was really curious about that because I was like, well, I kind of know what a hero is. And Michelle and I are wearing our capes being superhero. But what is an unsung hero? So why don't we begin there? And I'll let you start by telling us what is an unsung hero and why is this important to us?
Well, the reason I said harness your unsung heroes is we all know about who our heroes are, what we care deeply about, what we aspire to. In this case, I'm sort of treating this a little bit like a mystery, and I'll go through it as I start from the beginning. But what you'll see is I'm going to have you follow it step by step. And let me begin with how I'm going to actually spin this story, because what I'd like to do is, you said it's sort of mysterious to you, and that's exactly what I'm intending, because you're going to get clues.
Okay.
So everyone, hello, and it's such a pleasure to be here today. And when I was asked to speak and was told that the theme was energy, I thought, I want to talk about how important it is to be conscious of our energy and to harness it, especially for those things that we care about most. That's a clue already for Unsung Hero. So today, the title of my talk, as AJ just said, is Harness Your Unsung Heroes. And I know this sounds a little bit mysterious, but I'm going to say, let's treat this as a mystery. And in fact, I invite you to join me step by step in this story. And then at the end, after this, we'll have a more interactive part. So to begin, I have a question. If you had a big, bright, shiny container, and in it you put all those things that you care most about in life, your finest accomplishments, what you're most proud of, what would you put in?
So are you asking me or for everyone?
I'm asking everyone right now.
Okay. Jot some notes, everyone. Get your pen and paper.
Yes, definitely.
What would you put in your big shiny box?
Right. For some people, right, it could be your family, your friends, or the projects that you feel proud of. It could be the home that you built from the ground up, the company that you built from the ground up, your partner in life. So just take a moment and think what you would put in this shiny container, what you feel most proud about and what you care most about in your life. Okay. Now here's my next question. What did you leave out? I asked because, well, the best way for me to explain this is to share a little bit about my own personal answers. And I'll put it this way. What I've always spent enormous time and energy on in my life are my creative projects. And I've probably got what I call a big fat briefcase of the ones I've accomplished, and I'm very proud of. They go right into my shiny container. But I will admit, I've got this other container, a second container. In my mind, it sometimes looks like a ratty duffel bag filled with the ones that didn't happen, the 40-page proposals, prototype designs, films, and workshop presentations that I felt ever so proud of, but they never saw the light of day. Or maybe at the time, I just couldn't take them all the way. Should I consider this my bag of loser projects, the failures, the ones I don't like to talk about because I cared about them so much, put so much time and energy into, so much blood, sweat, and tears into, and they didn't happen? The ones friends say about, well, you gave it your all, but I might be thinking, it didn't happen, end of story, period. Or is it the end of the story? Now, think again what you put into your second container, for this is where our story today really begins. And to answer your question, for whatever you put in that second container, I'm going to call your unsung heroes. But remember, I said this might act like a mystery. So to go forward, we actually have to backtrack. And track might be the perfect word to use. So I can give you a clue. Think about this. You touch a glass. You walk on the sand. Say you call a wrong number, or even you lie on the bed. Whatever you do, you leave an imprint and an impact. I'll call it a trail. Even if you touch something for a moment. And most often, we agree that we leave these trails, right? Sometimes we can physically see it, the footprints, the fingerprints, the call log on our phone. Other times, the evidence is less visible, but still we're used to thinking, okay, even if I can't see it now, under a microscope, I or the experts can. Or like in a crime scene, using ultraviolet light, that's when it pops up, the blood stain on the wall. So far, all accepted. You might be thinking, of course, I know about these trails, but let's use something that has a very different kind of tracking in a different scenario. Like when a child goes missing, say in the mountains or in the woods. When parents can't find their child, and all traditional means of searching, including our human physical senses, doesn't work, they sometimes turn to trackers and dogs, or highly attuned sensitives, some people call them psychics, to help pinpoint where the child may be. Now, a dog's sense of smell is so much more powerful than our human sense of smell. So the tracker may give a dog something the child just wore, like a sweater or a shoe. A gifted sensitive might also use their clairvoyance to help find a child, but they too often take something the child just wore and held all the time, like a ring, a stuffed animal, or a special hat. And why these kinds of things? Because, well, these are the child's favorite things. There's something the child wore and played with all the time. They're loved, they're cherished, connected to strong thoughts and emotions. And here's the thing, they create a link. They're imbued with the child's essence. I'll call it their energy. And it's these less visible, but all powerful, energetic trails that I want to talk about next. Try out this next clue. Think back to yourself as a child. Pick one toy or object that you love the most. How much time did you spend with it? Think of how you played with it, where you kept it, or what happened if some other mean kid tried to grab it or destroy it. Or, childhood can be violent. Maybe you accidentally dismembered it. Perhaps you talked to it. What pops up? I bet there's a slew of thoughts and emotions, and at least one very super vivid story. And this is now just one very lit up trail. Now let's go back. Not to your accomplishments in that shiny container, but to wherever you put that other stuff. That second container, that not so happy, not so proud stuff, the stuff you left out. And okay, you might be thinking, no, I'd much rather remember dismembering my childhood toy, or perhaps you're just hoping that we can just forget it and you could leave that stuff in the basement, the attic, the bottom of the river, wherever you consigned it to death. But hold on, stay with me here. Just take one thing out of that second container, because you're going to get a clue. You're going to change your mindset about this event. I invite you to rewind, not to that moment when everything went south, meaning feels painful, fell apart, but to that time when you felt most hopeful and excited about what you were doing. Take a moment and remember how you felt. And okay, I'll do it too. So me, the minute I rewind, and remember, we are rewinding here. The minute I rewind and touch that place and backtrack far enough, well, I laugh, because what I pull out of my second container, my so-called loser duffel bag, is this theatrical project. I even have a great photo of it. And every time I look at it, I revisit this film shoot I did at the top of a roof with a bunch of wild, punk-looking dancers. And this was in New York City. And I'm going to see if I can share this photo here. And you'll get an idea. Okay. There it is. Make it a little bigger. So I'm doing this shoot as a promo for an all-choreographed Broadway show. When this photo is shot, I don't yet know that the show won't happen. That awful moment happens 5 years later, when the last producer who said yes says no. When this photo is shot, I feel only excitement and optimism. I feel ready to fly and take off because, well, doing anything on a rooftop is one of my most favorite things. And that's why I laugh. And just thinking about it, I get a blast of energy and I think, this project didn't die. I can track it. It leaves a living and breathing trail. The proof? Years later, it leads me to Los Angeles, where I design all kinds of experiences for public places, including on rooftops. And then I think, I still love creating these kinds of adventures. And then I realize that every time, even though my work keeps changing, every time I create something new, I pass some of this energy, I'll call it the DNA of this project on. Okay. Now back to you. What did you pick? And where did you rewind to? What might happen if you literally linger in that earlier moment, that earlier feeling of excitement and hope? Here's your last clue. You discover your own unsung hero. I say unsung because you never really truly honored it before. You never, to use the classic phrase, sang its praises. And hero because, well, look at what you went through, all the time and energy and passion you spent to create this in your life, even if it didn't work out. I also use the word hero because as you really re-embody these feelings, you might realize that this does have value. You're reigniting this trail, and you realize this is worthy of recognition by you. We humans have a habit of honoring heroes decades or centuries later. That's when we finally see the light and we go, oh yeah, right, they did important stuff. And why do we wait so long? I'd say that's when we finally get it, their relevance. We see how much value the person and their actions have to us today. Now think about yourself. Remember the trail that a child leaves when they love and play and focus on anything long enough. When you honor one of your own unsung heroes, you tap into so much more of that earlier excitement and, yes, energy that you had when you first began that endeavor. You're not trying to repeat the same thing again, but you do take that trail and you reignite the best of it. You can reset the energy. And guess what? You not only honor yourself and what you've done, but you could pay it forward. You could pass it on to whatever you decide to do next. Okay, I'm going to pause here.
Awesome. I feel like I've just been in a session of story time.
Well, when you asked what an unsung hero is, I thought, okay, I still wanted to take you through a few of these steps and, just leave out these trails of this mystery, because it is a little bit of an unfolding. And also, I wanted you to think of what yours were as I'm going along,
And I think in talking about this as an energy series, and remember, if you're watching the replay, please do hashtag replay and still comment. And I know people have been commenting along the way. People are saying it feels amazing listening to this, which is great. I guess when you're thinking about energy, and then when you mentioned about your childhood toy or something that you played with all the time, I really thought about that. And I went through a real process of minimalization and downsizing, but I kept that toy, the one that you mentioned or made me think about. I kept that toy, which is a tiny little stuffed cat that I got when I had the measles as a child, and I squeezed it so all the stuffing out of the body is in the head of it, because I held it the whole time I was sick in bed. But you're right, it made me think about the imprint and the impact, and even talking about tracking if someone goes missing, how much we do leave imprints everywhere we go, and yet we're not often conscious of that. We don't think, oh, I just walked on the sand and left my imprint. I just met someone and shook their hand and left an imprint. So tell us a bit more about how this is important from an energy perspective and why.
We all know that everything is energy, and we leave energy everywhere. We're constantly exchanging energy. There's no getting away from it, right?
Yeah.
But think of the things that we care most about. That is where we put the most of our energy, right? Especially when we are zeroing in and focusing, and anything. It could be a relationship. It could be a job. It could be a work, a project. It could be your health, whatever it is. It could be something you just make, as a resolution for the year. But whatever is most important to us in our life, that's where we put our energy.
Absolutely.
And where I'm going with it next, actually, but I'll say it right now, is, if it all works out, great. But if it doesn't work out, what often happens is we tend to remember the ending and not the beginning, right? We get to focus on what made us so excited about it to start with, what motivated us to it. And when we think about where we leave energy, anything, even like an object, like pick your toy, anything that we have a lot, and just look at someone's bedroom, right? What do they have on their night table? Or, what's on their bed? Or what's that photo and that represent? Usually, the amount of energy something has is obviously the longer it's existed and that we have, say, focused our energy on it. But it's also what we're feeling while we're focusing on it, right?
And so with those objects, say you see what someone collects or has on their nightstand or somewhere that's of significance, I know I have some elements and things, and it's, if I pick it up every day or I'm touching it every day, does that increase the energy of that item or that space?
I don't think it's as basic as I can pick it up 3 times, but I think it's, energy doesn't have anything to do with physical boundaries, right? And certainly, yes, if we touch it, but I would say it's the intention.
Yeah.
Right? You could have a photograph of someone you love in your bedroom, and when you look at it, you're feeling that love. And if you look at it every day, it's got a lot of that energy attached to it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Similarly, suppose you have something in your bedroom that, maybe it's a picture from some ancestor and no one liked that ancestor and the family was fighting over that ancestor and now you've got that in your bedroom. That's another kind of energy too. The question is, do you want that in your bedroom?
Right. And I know I've been to places that weren't necessarily spectacular in their visual. So
Right.
caves and some temples and things like that, that certainly weren't flesh. They weren't gold, but a lot of people had been there with the intention of praying or doing
Mhm.
something for world peace. And so you go there and instantly you can feel this energy in the place.
Yes, that's what people talk about a lot of special places, right? Where
Mm.
the combined intent of so many people that say are putting their highest of energy with the highest of intentions into something. Um, you feel it. Similarly, though, in a very different vein, like suppose you're going to check in at a hotel, right? And it's a big hotel, and say on this room, that floor, that we all have exact duplicate rooms, right? Same furniture, same bedroom, the same furniture nailed to the floor, right? And even the same view, but you walk into one room and you go, I don't think so. You walk into the room next to it and you go, yeah, I'll take this.
Right.
Sometimes we're not even aware of what we're reacting to, but something could have happened in that other room, right? And or even if we're not aware of it, we're subconsciously picking up on that energy.
Mm-hmm.
So energy
Right.
doesn't always have to mean about like how it looks or where it is physically.
Yeah. And so that's that concept of imprint. And I know some of our listeners and viewers are watching, and I think it was Jenny Lee Taylor said she loves this concept of the imprint. And that's what you're meaning, like that there is this imprint left in a space, or even it could be just a goal. You could have a 5-year plan. And so you've got a lot of energy going into that. There's a lot of imprint in that.
Yes.
And I guess we have to be selective about where we put our energy, because it's one thing that is in some ways a bit finite. We need to choose where we put it, because we can't put it everywhere all the time.
Yes, it's very easy, and especially think of today, right? With all the bombarding of electronic stuff hitting us constantly, we can get so distracted and diffused. And to really focus and prioritize, but most important, I think, is to be conscious of our energy. Because often, even some days I wake up and I almost have to catch myself if it's a day I woke up and didn't feel that great, say that morning. Wait a minute, what's going on, Gail?
Yeah.
Just to like reset and become aware. Otherwise, you're just in a reactive mode. So intentionally, consciously, really focusing our energy on what we want to create, and realizing that, we want to put it where we care most. And usually it sometimes works out that way anyway. I think that if you look at anyone's life, you often can get a sense of what they care about the most.
Yeah.
You see, are they
Yes.
spending all their time with their children? Is it their work? Is it their, we all have different places for it.
I agree. And I work with a lot of executives and CEOs, and I'll often say, they might say, I'm committed to my health, or I'm, having some balance in my life is really important. I say, okay, show me your calendar for the last 3 months.
Right.
And then we look at their calendar, or they say, I really want to work on this project. And I go, it's nowhere in your calendar. So that tells me it's not a priority. You're not putting a lot of energy or intention behind it. The calendar kind of never lies.
Right. Or they want to do it, but they haven't focused it. They haven't really intended it. They haven't really consciously dealt with it.
So Michelle just made a comment that we should be selective with the energy vampires in our lives as well. So those things that are sucking,
that is very true.
our energy.
We're not going to go into the whole vampire talk, at least not tonight. Okay, that'll be next time. But yes, we're constantly exchanging energy with people. It's a two-way street. That's why it doesn't matter if you try and go and hide in a cave. Energy goes right in. So we really want to be able to be conscious of our own energy. And, there are many techniques that people use to work with energy. I did a lot of training with the International Academy of Consciousness, and that's one organization that people might want to know about. They do some amazing work both with energy and with the exploration of consciousness, and they are always constantly giving online classes and teach many, many techniques, and also very much talk about vampires, or how they term it, intruders.
Intruders, I like that.
Yeah, you can call it many things, but I would highly recommend that everyone might look them up.
And so, given you're saying there are practical ways to be more conscious about how and where we're spending and using our energy, do you have any tips for us on how to do that?
Yes. The most important thing is what I think is, first of all, to take this pause and to really tune in. I like, first of all, to really tune into my body, because I find that the body rarely lies. We're so adept with words, right? We could talk and say one thing, but then you look at someone's body and it's doing a whole other thing. And I've learned a lot of different energy techniques, which are probably, it really would be a whole other session to go into many different techniques, just like there are a million meditation techniques and yoga techniques. But I say to stop and ask yourself, maybe, how am I feeling? What am I thinking about? What's going on? Do I want to be thinking about this that I'm thinking about? You could wake up being angry, and you could just start, top of your head, going off on something, and then you're not really focusing on where you want to be. You have to set your intention. You set the energy. You could get up in the morning and think about setting the energy for the day. Think about what you want to do. Think of the highest feeling and value that will give you. In fact, I have this little exercise of 5 questions that I can, at any point, go into.
But it's great.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, let's do something practical. And thanks also, Vanessa has just shared the link to the International Academy of Consciousness. So people who are interested in that, that should be on your screen right now. Yeah, but let's do an exercise. That'd be great.
Well, this is not a physical energetic exercise, but it relates to the talk of unsung heroes. And again, going back to the idea that, we often begin something, and we often have had things that we've cared deeply about, and maybe they didn't work out. If it did work out, great. But then the next time we try to do something new, we remember the ending and not the beginning. And so this exercise is to tap into those beginning feelings and excitement. So what I'm going to ask is everyone right now to pick one thing from that second container. And that second container, remember I said the first container is all the things that you care about and feel most proud about in your life, your finest accomplishments. The second container is, what did you leave out? And see what popped up. Now, you could pick the same thing that you thought of when I was going through my talk, or you could pick something else. And also, I gave an example of this theatrical project, right? But this could be anything in any area of your life. It could be a relationship. It could be work. It could be something you try to do, some resolution, anything with your health, your finance, whatever it is. But here's the important thing, is that it's not just something that's like a 2-second deal. it wouldn't be like, say, okay, I wanted to learn languages, so I took French for 3 days, and then I didn't do well at it. Okay, I gave it up. That wasn't something that I really put my passion into, my time, my energy into. So something you were really invested in. So everyone, just get clear for a second. Take that moment and pick that one thing. Okay. And so I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and I'd like you to really allow yourself to rewind and, again, have something to jot down answers. If you want to throw it into the chat or anything, you could share it with us, or this is totally only for you and your answers. Okay, here's the first question. If you have a title for that one thing that you pulled out of your second container, what would it be? Now, when I say title, I'm not thinking that it has to be a formal title or headline, though it could be. Something might pop up. It could also be a phrase or a description of your experience as well. So your own homemade title for it. I'll say the question again. If you have a title for that one thing that you pulled out of your second container, what would it be? Okay. Second question. What excited you about it so much in the beginning? Again, the question is, what excited you about it so much in the beginning? Okay, here's the third question. What did you hope that it would give you if it all worked out? Again, the question is, what did you hope that it would give you if it all worked out? Yeah, that's one.
I really like that question. That's making me think.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, great. I'm seeing the question here too, flash on the screen.
I'm just adding the questions on the screen for people.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the fourth question. What did it represent to you that's of great value to you and might still be of great value to you now? I'll say the question again. What did it represent to you that's of great value and might still be of great value to you now? Yep, you got that question. Okay. For the fifth question, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I'm just going to put all of these questions together, so even though they've been giving them one by one.
Awesome. Okay. So you're going to share a screen?
Yeah. Cool. You could see it, right? Okay.
We will now. Yep.
Okay. So here is the fifth question, and I put it right at the bottom here. Having answered these questions, if you created a fresh title for your endeavor, what might it be? And I'm going to keep these 5 questions up so you could just review them. So the fifth question is, having answered these questions, if you created a fresh title for your endeavor, what might it be? okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you focus on your answers to questions like this and really embody these earlier thoughts and feelings, and you could probably even, make up a few more questions of your own that are along these lines that you could ask yourself. What you start to do is you're only not only honoring what you've done, but you can really pay it forward. You could pass it on to whatever you do next. And this isn't a clue, it's a challenge for us all.
And isn't it right that often we either don't celebrate wins, but we don't collect sometimes the beauty of some of those things that haven't maybe gone ahead for whatever reason? It could have been timing, could have been you didn't have the support or the money you needed, or whatever it might be. We don't
Right.
always gather. And a lot of us are just going, what's next, new. And we don't bring all those great things with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, let's face it, every time we do anything that we really care about deeply, I don't care what it is, it could be a relationship, it could be a project, it could be something, we're going right out on a limb. We're stepping into the unknown. We're doing something new. And it takes courage. And there is risk. And it's easy for it not to always work out. But all of those energy and that step is very important for whatever we do next. Sometimes we don't realize that the reason something might succeed 5 projects down the line is because those 4 others failed. We tend to forget that. We just go, this failed, that didn't work, this didn't work. Oh, this one worked, but then those 4 didn't failed.
Yeah.
Still thinking about that. And if we can get back to, God, I began that because I just love doing this thing. This is what I really cared about. This is what gave me energy. Because let's face it, when we are doing something that we love, we are in our highest energy. And also to do something new, guess what? That takes an enormous amount of energy.
Yeah.
We can't just do it if we're sort of in a I know myself, when I'm in a sort of low energy or not the greatest energy mode, I'm really good for nothing other than trying to get myself out of it.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about science, all of the greatest scientific discoveries have come about through lots and lots of experiments that failed, and building upon it and going, let's just tweak this, let's just change one thing and then try it again. So that's how society advances. I always call them missteps, not mistakes. And
that's great. That's when
I work with entrepreneurs and a lot, I talk to them about just be prepared that 50% of what you try will fail. Because if you go in with the mindset of 50% of what I'm going to try is not going to stick and not going to work, you get less hung up on it not turning out, and you're more likely to go, oh, okay, what can I reuse out of that and recycle and go to the next thing?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the whole point of, actually, just like you said, most of the greatest discoveries were by accident, right?
Yeah.
On the way to discovering something else, they found this one thing that became the building block of our world, or, a lot of those accidents. And, that way we're also appreciating, of course, the journey.
So we only have about 5 minutes left. And I know some people have been commenting. If anyone's got a question, please pop that in the comments box now so we can add it. Thanks, Vanessa. She's just included your web address so people can find you as well, Gail. Is there any other final kind of points or comments you wanted to make, takeaways for people? And also your contact details are on the screen right now. But are there any final thoughts or things you did want to cover?
I would love everyone each morning to wake up and just think, how am I today? How do I feel? Is there something that I need to reset? Or just as you're about to do something and getting totally petrified about it or discouraged about it, to go, wait, why am I even interested in this? What's it giving me? Because what's the value that we care about the most? And sometimes I find the really interesting thing, just like we talk about the story behind the story is the real story, it's the value behind the value. So if you think of something, when I asked you that question, let me see, what was the question here? What did it represent to you that was of great value and might be of great value to you now? You might even think of, what does that great value represent to you? What's behind that great value? What might it let you do? And so you just even get clear about what you care about the most. Because, we all go through these periods of fog at times, right? Where we don't know if we're on our track or if we're doing what we should be doing, what we care about. And sometimes, even if we don't have the exact answer, we can think about what we care about most in life.
Mm.
And it's the quality of it. Just like we talk about the quality of energy, right? I mean, I could jump all around the room and you might think, oh God, I'm so energetic. But I could probably be more energetic sitting still and focusing and thinking on something.
Mm.
Think about the quality of your energy and where you want to focus it and intend it.
I think that's a perfect way to kind of wrap up, because people have actually been commenting that it was a calm and peaceful session. So they've loved your energy.
Jumping up and down and turning the furniture upside down. But I do want to say I would love everyone to tune into my podcast because I do talk about all these subjects. It's a very unusual podcast because I only come out with one once a month or every 6 weeks, but they're like little journeys like this. And all of these topics are on there.
Well, and just like your whole presentation today, quality over quantity, I think that's, your ability to sit with and marinate. And even the 5 questions that you gave us, I really think if people go away and spend some more time on those, on some other aspects as well, there's some real depth in those.
Yeah.
Lynn Jessam is saying that the podcasts are fabulous. So you've got a fan out there already.
Thank
you. So
you.
that's great to hear, Lynn. Awesome to hear. And Vanessa commented that it reminds her of her grandmother, that she would cross herself of a morning and be thankful for being healthy and alive another day. And I think what I'm taking away from what you've talked about is that quality is important, intention is the key, and that whole concept of the imprints. I know I was talking to some locals where I lived the other day, and they'd been robbed. And they were saying, the police said they couldn't get any fingerprints because they'd obviously worn gloves, but they'd come in through the chimney, and someone must have removed their gloves at one point because they found one thumbprint in the ash. And they actually were able to take photos of the ash, and they identified the robber through that. And it just made me think of it, because I was like, there is an imprint, right? Whether we, think we're making an imprint or not, we are. And so that intentionality and that consciousness, and thank you for bringing that consciousness to how you've presented to us today on the Superhuman Summit. It's greatly appreciated.
Oh, such a pleasure. Yeah, because, all of the energetic stuff, often that's the stuff that isn't the physically visible.
Yeah.
But we know how we're feeling. We're reacting to it. So the more we're conscious to it, the better.
Well, you've left an imprint on us today, and I want to encourage everyone, if you want to go a little deeper into energy in this topic, and just like we have today with Gail, we have an amazing program coming up called the Superhuman Experience. So Michelle and I are running that. It starts on the 3rd of May. And I encourage you to join us for that. If you sign up whilst the Superhuman Summit is on over these 3 days, you get $250 off, which is quite significant. So we'd love you to join us. It's a virtual program, all online, but it is live. So you get to go immersively and do more of these kind of deep dive sessions with Michelle and I and the other participants. So make sure the links are scrolling across below, that you check out the Superhuman experience. And also make sure you go and check out Gail's podcast, which is called Wildscape. Check her out on her website. And I know you work with creators, innovators, and rule breakers. So as soon as I heard that, I was like, you're my kind of girl.
Yes. I work with people that are really ready to make these bold changes in their life. And yes, they are the rule breakers and the innovators and the creatives. And it's fabulous working with them, because, wow, do they shift. I love watching.
And it's time. It's time for that right now in the world, and that's why we're running this series. So thank you to everyone for playing along. Thank you for all your comments and questions along the way. Please be sure to come back to us in just kind of 10 minutes time, where we're speaking to a dear friend of mine, Babette Ben-Susan, and she's a leadership expert. She's going to talk about the energy that we use as leaders and how we can measure our leadership energy. So make sure you don't miss out on that. You have a wee couple of minutes break, so go and make your cup of tea, and we will see you then. Thanks again, Gail. Have a great evening over there in LA.
Thank you. Okay. Ciao. Bye.
Bye.